where they had the spirits that had materialized. They photographed them, and then they had paintings made of them. And there was probably about maybe 100 of those around the place.
Sort of like a shrine?
Yeah, and underneath there was a little altar where you have incense and things that they would use in their prayer sessions and things like that, devotions to certain spirits. And some of the objects in there, the priest said, were solid gold. It was a unique experience to see that.
So how did you feel when you walked into that room?
I felt that these people had power, and they had a lot of it.
Did that attract you?
Yes and no.
You had mixed feelings about it?
I had mixed feelings about it, yeah. Because to a certain extent, things looked so good and sounded so good to us. But you see, I'd been brought up in a Christian home where my parents had told us we were 8 children in the family, and especially the older ones, you know. My dad says, well, you know, if you get involved in wrongdoing, you're going to have to pay the price. There's always a cost for everything in this world. So this thought kept creeping to my mind. Just how far you go with these spirits before we start paying the price. See?
So it made you just a little bit nervous.
Oh, yes.
But yet you kept going back.
Oh, there was no way out. Because that we were told.
You knew at that time.
Yeah.
So you were moving forward more on fear.
More on fear, yes. Because the high priest said that the master had special plans for us in our lives. And that no one ever went into this society unless they were invited by the spirits. See, so that was made very clear. And he also expressed to us the danger, explained to us the danger of going against the will of the spirits. And he mentioned about this one man and his wife that live in a fireproof building in Montreal. The place burned right down with him in it. He was one of their members that had decided that, well, he wanted to think things over. He was not going to get initiated at a time that the spirit said he would like him to be initiated into the society.
So in reality, Roger, you were chosen by high-powered demon spirits to be a part of their human, special, privileged group.
You see, these people in Montreal, the society, like the priest mentioned, there's thousands of spirit worshippers in only different societies of spirit worshippers in this world. But he says we are the elite. We know the real truth about the master and his angels. And they're not hideous-looking beings. They are gorgeous creatures. And from the paintings that they had on the wall of the walls of that worship room, they were unique beings. Especially there was a painting full length painting of the fallen Lucifer above his altar, and that was very fascinating because he looked like a man of great intellect, high forehead, the way that he looked with his eyes, the way he had the eyes looking. It gave you a depth of perception of somebody that is very, very knowledgeable and
powerful.
Powerful, yeah.
So Roger, this high priest that you talked about, he is the one that ushered you down into the worship room. Was he also the one that led out in the praise sessions that you talked about?
Yes, and he had an assistant also, another priest.
Okay. Now, when you would go to these praise sessions, what kinds of things happened at those sessions?
Well, there's a lot of success stories.
Positive mental attitude kinds of things?
Well, yes, a lot of success stories. The masters has done this for me and that for me. I remember one lumber dealer, he had like half a dozen different operations in the province of Quebec, and everything that he touched seemed to turn to money. You know? And he was telling about it. And then there's this other person that was a clairvoyant that would work only for the wealthy people, only for the super wealthy. He says, I have the know-how, they have the means, let them pay. So he advised in business transactions. They would come to him and say, listen, I look at this deal that I might get, you know, this factory or whatever it is, like, because this person was interested in industrial real estate, see. And he would talk to the spirit, and then the spirit was audible to him. See, you could hear the spirit talk to him, but the man did not hear. So the spirit was telling him the clairvoyant what, well, he called himself an astrologer, reading the moons and the stars, and, you know.
Now, what was the term you used for his title, this man?
Clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant.
Oh, clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant.
Okay.
Yes, and it was interesting. This person stood up and says, I had a nice little experience last week. And he says, the masters, he says, they take care of you. This lady and her husband brought him, to this astrologer, a bundle of money. They said, this is the deal that you... And he works at only on percentages. Only on percentages. He doesn't work for set amounts of money. Only percentages of what the people are going to make. So he said, they brought me a substantial amount of money. And they were very happy with it, and I thought it was very reasonable. But then my guide, spirit, says, ask them when they're going to give you the other $1,700 that is really yours. And he says to the folks, I would like to know now, before we leave here, when will you have the $1,700 to give me? That makes up my part of, you know, rightful part of the deal. The wife fainted, and the husband says, we'll have the money for you within 24 hours. So that was this type of priest session.
So he was thanking the demons for helping him to know that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Even spirits, yeah.
At what point did this demon worship start to affect you personally, Roger?
Well, it wasn't too long that the priest mentioned to us that the time had arrived for us to start trusting the spirits and give the spirits a chance to work for us. And there was a number of gifts that you could choose from. You see. And I used to play the horses. Some. Not knowledgeable at all. I used to go to those bookies, you know, play the horse every so often. But I said, hey, I would like to be able to, for the spirit to instruct me on the numbers and the name of the horses that's going to win, you know, at Belmont or some other racetracks like that. Make myself a little money. So the priest says, it'll be given you. And sure enough, one night whether I fell into a trance or dreamed the thing, I don't know exactly what happened, but I saw 3 races that were really going to pay big. And these horses were dummies, so to speak. You know what I mean? They were not really good horses. They were like one horse paid 21 to 1 because he was that poor, right? The chance of winning was so poor that they paid 21 to 1 on him. And it showed me I saw the board at the bookie and the number on it. And I went there, and they said it was going to be on Saturday. That was like on Wednesday. A few days later, it was Saturday. I went there, and sure enough, there they were on the boards. I went to the wicket and handed some money and got myself a winner. Now I said, well, I'm a little crazy. I ought to put more money on there, so I put $20 onto the next horse, and that paid 21 to 1. So you know, I left there with maybe $400 or $500 in my hands, and I started to do that. In this case, I went directly down to the finest men's shop on St. Catherine Street, and bought myself a $200 suit.
And in 1946, a $200 suit was...
In 1946, people used to work at the RCA Victor, where I had worked before I went to the Navy, for $18 a week. Mm-hmm. And the good earners were $75 to $50 to $75 per week, you know, for labor.
So the demon spirits looked on you so favorably, they began to help you win in your gambling.
Then I went to other bookies, you see. And one day, I I'm told that